Well, hello once again. So this month we decided to have a really eclectic panel. And, I'm sure it's on the minds of a lot of people. The past year and a half, the market has just been increasing. And, we all wondered about the sustainability of the housing market, what it was going to be like. Are we going to still be in competing offers? And I've personally seen a change. So that's today's topic. Just, have we all seen a switch in the market and where do we see it going? So what I'll do is I'll get the panel to introduce themselves. And by the way, I'm Sandra Pike of LePage Atlantic.
I'm Adam Hennigar of Sutton Group Professional Realty, the broker and owner.
I'm Thomas Bagogloo of the Bagogloo team, Remax Nova.
And Richard Payne from Halifax Homes and Lifestyles, EXP Realty.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining me. So I'm really interested, certainly in this topic. So Adam, I'm going to start with you. How long, I feel that we're in a bit of a lull right now. Have you been seeing that with your agents at the office? How have the sales been? What are you experiencing over at Sutton?
I'd agree. I think we're definitely in a bit of a summer lull, and part of me says it's that normal, typical summer lull that we go through in a normal, typical year. Part of me says it's a reaction to COVID, that people are relaxing and focusing on enjoying their life and seeing their family, friends, vacations, things like that right now too. I'm not seeing a massive slowdown in the sheer volume of sales, but we're certainly seeing a huge slowdown in the pace and the frenzy of it, the number of viewings per listing, the number of competing offers per listing. There's definitely been a slowdown.
Thomas, you are a heavy lister here in the city. What have you noticed right now with your listings?
Well, looking at the stats year to date, we're ahead about 30% in terms of sales. I do believe that we're going into the summer slowdown. And when I say slowdown, I just mean a touch. People have been locked up with COVID restrictions. They're dying to go on vacation, go away, visit relatives. I think we would experience that whether the market was slow or the market is strong. It's a very typical thing every year. Same with the spring. The spring is still the strongest in the slowest years as it is in the strongest years. So from a listing point of view, I think it's very situational. I think when you're looking at properties, the clients that have really positioned the properties to really showcase the best and have really tweaked all of the characteristics and really have made them most presentable, those properties are still going into competition. We may not be seeing the 15 or 20 offers like we would see on some properties, if not more or a few less, but we're still seeing the 8 to 10 offers in many cases, and at least 3 to 4 or 5 offers, and it's enough to create that activity. Keep in mind, the market is up overall compared to last year. Price points are up about 32 to 34% depending, and the number of sales are up as well, almost an equal amount in terms of units. I do not see any kind of long-term slowdown. What I see is a little bit of polishing off of the edge, the aggressive edge in the market. I don't see us going up 30 or 40% every year. Last year was 15% approximately. I think we're going to moderate at some point, maybe to 8 to 12% for the next 10 years, barring a recession or barring something astronomical. The rates are at an all-time low. You can actually get a variable rate right now just under 1% with some institutions, and that's astronomical. So I'm seeing probably for our market specifically another 6 months to 12 months, lots of fuel in the tank. Might not be as aggressive as in the spring, but let me tell you, even if you took 10 or 20% off the spring, we still have an amazing market to look forward to.
Yeah. But Richard, wouldn't you say that our spring market was fueled by, last year we didn't have any military, and this year we had an abundance of military who came to the city, and plus we also had people who are coming back home because of the way, business had changed. You didn't have to work in your office anymore. You know, do you anticipate that we're going to get that again this spring?
I can't see it. Like, I'm the same as Thomas. When you look at all the factors that we're kind of dealing with right now, I mean, I know just over the last 2 weeks, I've probably had more inquiries from people moving from the UK to here, but also from Ontario and BC to here. So they're still on their way. They're still moving. I think, you know, everybody's right. You know, we've got a little bit of COVID freedom, so we're going to probably enjoy July and August because we have nice weather. And people are probably going to take a little bit of a break, especially if you've been trying to buy a house in the market since, say, March. You're probably a bit like, I'm tired. Like, if I've not bought a house by now, I could do with a couple of months break. But I still see spring and fall as being our two heaviest activity markets. I think we're all very surprised probably that July is slowing down a little bit, but nice weather, bit of COVID freedom, like a little bit of enjoyment. But still, so long as we get good listings priced appropriately that show well, you're still going to be getting the multiple offers. You know, be interesting to see if you're getting the 10, 15 multiple offers, or whether you're just getting 2 to 5 to 6 multiple offers. So it's going to be interesting July and August to see what happens. But I think, yeah, once we hit fall, we're going to get another bump again, and we'll still get the bump again next spring.
Okay. I will tell you for my listings that I list at the end of July. So we've been selling every house in the past year and a half in 3.5 days. And the 2 houses that I listed, so one was, you know, in Spryfield, the other was in Middle Sackville. And the showings were so sporadic and they just slowed dramatically down. And so I had to backpedal with my clients a bit, because this was not what I was anticipating, because for the whole year and a half, it was, you know, I remember one week in between 2 properties, I had 93 showings. While I wasn't expecting that between these 2, I was certainly anticipating more than what I had, and no multiple offers came on Monday morning. So I was taken back, and now I'd listed last week, and you know, I haven't been accepting bully offers at all, like, or early offers. We've been waiting. But I was a little hesitant. You know, when we ended up getting 2 bully offers in, and we actually looked at them and accepted them because we didn't know what was going to happen on Monday. You know, Thomas, what's been going on with you guys?
Yeah, so I find, to your point, well spoken on that. It is very situational. We're finding, whether we're representing the buyer on the listing side, in some cases, we're observing that we may not have gotten as many showings or as many offers. But for the most part, we're seeing that as a result of what I will call getting out of lockdown and moving into the summer. And I truly believe there's a distraction element going on. The market is softening a little bit in Canada, and that doesn't mean it's plummeting. It's just there's a bit more supply coming on, and you'd have to go a long way before the market starts to plummet. Like, the market is really strong. So we're only talking percentage points here. But having said that, it is very situational. And, you know, I think it is a time where maybe a month ago, perhaps, we would not have looked at bully offers, but even our team has looked at several. We were very much against bully offers, and now we're considering them if they are really sweet. And that's all dependent on the client and the client expectations. One thing's for sure, we are going through a bit of a metamorphosis, and change for humanity is very difficult to accept for most people, because change takes us out of our comfort zone, but change is the element for true growth. And right now our market is growing. It's changing with different dynamics. We have introduced the dynamics of loosening up the COVID restrictions, because we've all been pretty good and the cases are down. That combination with the summer kind of enjoyment and flair and just get out. I mean, people have been locked up. They want to get out and about. I truly don't believe it's a market condition. the market has been affected by the condition, but it's been the result of people taking a breather and saying, you know what, yes, we were looking for homes. Let's just take a couple of weeks and go enjoy some family in PEI or Newfoundland or elsewhere in Canada where permitted. And that's realistically what's going on. I think what you're saying is during the Canada Day weekend, I think that shook up a lot of agents that whole week. Showings were down dramatically if you look at showtime. Prior to that week was about 3,200 showings. During that week was about 2,400 showings. The week after, meaning the week that just passed, was 3,400 showings, meaning more than prior to Canada Day weekend. What I truly believe is a trend is defined by a multiple series of implied statistical points over a measurable period of time. So whether that's 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 2 months, 1 week or 2 weeks does not define a change in the market. And what has happened is we just had a little bit of a breather, you know, like you're running a long distance race. We had a little bit of a breather, and whatever homes were listed during that time, we all would have had homes listed during that time. They went possibly through a little bit of a lull. It's temporary. We're back on track. And I truly believe that the steam is still in the market. It's just we have to be a little patient and understand that we can't have every day to be an exotic day in real estate, right? Sometimes there is a change, and that change can really change your headspace, but don't change your headspace until you see a trend. It's the trend that we look for, not the daily occurrences.
Thank you for that, Thomas. Adam, you know, when you are, you know, reviewing files that are on your desk, let's say for the past 2 weeks, where would you say, or have you noticed where the buyers are coming from? Are you still seeing an influx from outside of Nova Scotia, or are you seeing maybe the buyers here?
Geez, you're asking a question I'm not actually tracking. I'm not tracking where the buyers are coming from in bulk. I don't think it's shifted at all. I think the underlying economics of it is the city, Halifax grew by 40,000 people between 2016 and 2020. During that entire time frame, we built approximately 7,000 units. That's houses, condos, apartments, everything. Stats Canada has us at 1.7 people per household on average. If we round it up to 2 for easy math, approximately 14,000 people found somewhere suitable to live. Obviously, the others did find places to live as well, but would be an apartment that was too small or whatever they were able to arrange. They're still looking for suitable accommodations. So entering this year, we had a backlog of about 26,000 people looking for somewhere to live. Wow. I don't know the real numbers exactly, but if we've had 1,000 military and 1,000 people from Ontario move to Nova Scotia, they've certainly impacted the market. They've certainly had an impact on the prices in the market, but I don't think those people are driving the market. And even if they didn't move to Nova Scotia, we still have that 26,000 backlog. You know, it's the underlying economics are strong enough that I would actually predict we're in for a seller's market for at least 3 to 5 years before it reaches balanced market territory at the earliest. But I do see the slowdown and some signs of return to normalcy, some signs of what I'm calling a return to predictability by the end of the year, meaning that for the average property, we won't see as much of a frenzy of showings, as much of a frenzy of offers. And I think the listing prices will have to be more accurate to reflect what they're actually looking for and what buyers are actually paying. That will all have a better grip on what the market value on those properties are and where to put our buyers and where to put our sellers at to create a bit more of a predictable market by the end of the year. On average, there's still going to be very hot properties that will still have 20, 30 competing offers, but I don't think they will be the norm as they have been for the past year.
No. So Richard, when you are, you know, with buyer clients, when you're out, have you experienced anything differently in the past 3 weeks of what it takes to win an offer, or is it still as aggressive as it was back, let's say, you know, the spring market? Is it the same?
Yeah, well, it's kind of one of those interesting ones that, all of a sudden the vacancy for getting a time slot to go and see a property, that's become a lot easier. So whereas before, March, April, May, you were like literally as soon as you thought your client wants to see a property, you were literally trying to book a time slot regardless of when they said they were available. Because if you didn't get a time slot, you weren't seeing it. I've certainly found it a lot easier to actually book the times that I want to go and see properties. Definitely multiple offers. I'm still in multiple offers, but it's like me and one other person, me and maybe two other people. So instead of me versus 14, 15, in which case you're always just like, wow, this is going to go crazy. Like, I don't know where this is going to end up. It's just become that little bit easier and still multiple offers. So you're still going to be incredibly strong with everything that you're offering, conditions and price and closing. But it's definitely just become that little bit of a like, okay, I'm only against one, maybe two people. So, potentially we're not hitting that 75 to 100 to 150 over asking. We're kind of being a little bit more sensible to say, well, you know what, like maybe we can get away with, this number over asking price as opposed to just going, absolutely sky high on it to try and make sure we secure it. So it's definitely become a little bit easier.
Okay, interesting. So I've spoken with other agents and, one of the discussions we had last week. So we look at the factors that have affected the market right now. We have COVID restrictions being lifted. We have that time of year, people are, kids are out of school, they're on holidays. Possibility of buyer fatigue. They're just tired of, writing out offers and not winning. But let's just look at the seller. So this may be a little bit of a controversy that I will state. Would you say that a seller's greed to get most value for their home has that exploded, and the expectations are set too high and they're pricing higher? Would that affect the showings or what the seller is getting on their home, Thomas?
Absolutely. And you see, the sellers have had a benefit of probably close to at least a year, if not 14, 16 months, whatever time frame, to watch the market appreciate, if you will. And it does take time for things to sink in, but by now most sellers understand that the price points have really risen. And part of the art of pricing well and getting the maximum price is educating our clients on, you don't necessarily max out the price on the listing. You have it high enough to solicit a number of offers and competition to really bring forth the strength of the market in that price range. So listing at the highest point based on the previous sale is probably not the best strategy, and that's going to take a little coaching. And I'll give you a simple example. A lot of times people say, look at that home in Toronto. It was on for $1 million, sold for 1.3 million. They made 300,000 over asking price. Yes, but it was really a $1.2 million home that they listed for 1 million or some variation of that. They really got 100,000 over. And that's the story, the backstory that we're often not told. So similar to here, it is a different market, but we are a smaller version of that market. But in some cases, that same logic does stand. Maybe not to that extent of a differential, but you got to keep a little bit of distance from the upper end and it will solicit. We've experienced that on a couple of properties where we didn't get what we thought we were going to get. We took them off the market, dropped the price 20,000 to bring it down to, call it 399 instead of 429, just using a hypothetical. All of a sudden in the multiple offers, boom, done and over with in the mid fours. So it's really the pricing. So really informing the sellers, don't go as high as possible based on a previous sale. That sale was achieved by a home being priced at maybe 20 or 25% below what it traded for. It's the competing offers that took it to the price point that you are now looking at and really favoring that price range, right?
So, Adam, would you be coaching, any of your agents at the office to, list at market value, list below market value? Or, I mean, at the end of the day, that house that, let's say, sold down the street from you, that could have been just a one-off. And I mean, and that buyer is out of the market now. So, should the seller, like, what are you telling your agents? Like, should you be listing what the seller sold for, or how is it that you guys are dealing with it?
Well, that's exactly the predictability and pricing sensitivity that I'm saying is coming back to the market. For the last year, to a certain extent, it hasn't mattered what price you put on the property. Buyers have defined it through the large number of competing offers, and a lot of sellers have listed at 500, expecting to sell for 650. Well, if you're watching the market trends right now, probably about 30% of new listings are adjusting their price. And every week you'll see sellers that are adjusting their price upwards, that they listed at 500 expecting to sell at 650 and didn't manage to achieve that. And they've received 2, 3, 4 competing offers, but maybe the highest was 575. And so the week after listing, you see them quickly adjust, and now their list price is 600. I think that sensitivity is coming back to the market, that we do have to get much more accurate in where we price our properties. That listing price does matter, Dean, now, and we do really need to focus on what the market value is and list accordingly. I'd agree too that, if I'm hoping to get 600, I'm probably not listing quite at 600, because buyers up till now have learned that the list price doesn't matter. If it's listed at 600, it's probably going at 650 or 7. So they've started discounting properties that are listed at their maximum budget. So I'm kind of coaching a compromise of the two, that you do need to coach the seller to be realistic, to get an accurate listing price on there that does reflect market value, but with a little bit of room to it, that you're not going to scare off any buyers that are assuming it's going to go over list.
So, Richard, when we're talking about market value, would you consider market value when you're listing a home being a balanced market of how you are pricing the homes, or are you still pricing the homes the way you would have back in 2017, but not at 2017 prices, obviously, but just the same format?
Exactly. Let's price it at 2017. See how many offers you get then. Yeah, it's the same as what Thomas and Adam have both been saying. There's that fine line where you want your clients to get the maximum price possible, but at the same time, you've got to get the maximum amount of buyers to look at the property, go through the property, decide that they love it, and decide to write an offer. So it's that fine line. I mean, right now we're kind of doing the same thing that most people are doing, is like, let's just be sensible at what we think is a good price to start off with. And if the market decides that it's going to go 50, 60, 200,000 over asking price, well, just let the market decide that. Like, it's not up to us as agents to go, well, this is where we think it's actually going to finally sell for, so we're going to list it there. Like, that's just going to drive everything too high, and you're going to end up with no buyers looking at the property. So I think you've got to price it appropriately to say, this is value for money where it is now. If the buyers want to then start asking and putting in offers over asking price, well, that's supply and demand. That's like, well, you've been looking for a house, you've not had a house in the past, you've failed how many times in trying to get your offer accepted. So this time you're going to go all chips in on the table, and let's absolutely make sure you get it. So you just have to be sensible. As long as it's a sensible price for what you're actually offering, just let the market dictate where it's going to go from there.
Awesome. Thomas, you talked about offers being situational, for what's happening. Would you say that every different pocket of Halifax would give you a different price point of what you're going to expect over offers or over ask, sorry?
Yes, to a certain extent, absolutely. And part of the whole market analysis is to see what kind of vibrations in that neighborhood, that district, if we're talking Colby Village or Timberley or the South End versus Bedford. And then if we're moving like the 200 to 400 price range, as hot as Hades, right? So, I mean, that's moving overnight. How we address that is different from 600 to 800,000. Traditionally, up until a couple of years ago, about approximately 90% of all homes sold under $550,000. So in our marketplace, over 550 was maybe 10, 12%, give or take a little bit. That's changed a touch, but it's not dramatically different. It might be 85, 15%. It could be off a bit. But having said that, You know, the value of a home, whether you look at a semi or you look at a historic home on the peninsula, is made up of two really critical components: the intrinsic value, the features, the architecture, what it has to offer, and the emotional value. And the emotional value, which is the non-monetary benefit, because a home is not an investment, contrary to belief. A home doesn't produce income or dividends. A home is basically a place where you create memories. It does require money to buy, and yes, you have to maintain it. But that emotional value, and we're getting outbeaten here locally by the out-of-town buyers, the foreign buyers, the Ontario buyers, the BC buyers. See, they sell at 120, and to answer your question directly, they sell at 1.2 million, I meant to say, and they come here and they buy at 500,000 or 600,000. So when they throw an extra 50 or 100,000 at a property, and literally that's what they're doing, they're saying, we're moving to Halifax and we just made 700,000 on our home. If we give up 50 to 100,000 and live in a very comparable type of home for half the price, what's the big deal? The problem is this: we here locally, and I say this respectfully, we have seen the market, we as individual buyers, we have watched it, we have heard it, and we're having a hard time catching up to the people who have lived this on a regular basis for a decade plus, like Toronto, you know, Calgary, Ottawa, Vancouver. Now, mind you, those markets have had their pitfalls too, and they've had their lulls and their slowdowns, but they keep moving upward. And what we may have forgotten already, and I don't mean us here as panelists, we may have forgotten that this is the beginning of a new future for Halifax. If you look at the predictions by the Chamber of Commerce and CMHC over the next 10 years, they're talking about our city growing 100 to 150,000, I'm rounding. In the next 10 years, 40 to 50,000 people. Like, you start doing the math on this, and there's about 25,000, like Adam said, that are already pre-approved. They're already like new immigrants to Nova Scotia. They're already ready to come. And they just could not have, given the restrictions and the flights and all that stuff. I don't think we've seen the tsunami yet. I think it's going to be unbelievable what's to come here locally. And I'm not just saying that. Look at the stats based on supply and demand. We do not have enough houses coming on stream from a new construction, both single family and multi-unit. We are not even close. And then you have all of these people coming from abroad, meaning outside of Nova Scotia, outside of Canada, and from the rest of Canada. If you think for 1 minute that people from the rest of Canada, just because lockdown is easing up a little bit, are giving up the hope of coming to Nova Scotia, absolutely not. They are absolutely going to come here now. They were buying sight unseen. Imagine when they finally come here, you know, the people that have put their buying decisions off, we have yet to start. I mean, we've seen, what, a year and a half of a little bit of a momentum. That's nothing. That's the beginning, but we have never seen a beginning so romantic as what we have right now. And it's based on fact, supply, and demand. This is not an emotional interpretation or opinion. You look at how many houses and how many people are coming here. It's unbelievable. Last year alone, 9,500, I'm rounding, people came to Nova Scotia, the highest point ever in years. And typically we'd have 2,000 to 4,000, maybe 6,000 in 1 year. Of those 9,500 or 9,400, it was only about 800 or 900 from the rest of Canada. The rest were from out of country. So to Adam's point, I believe, and possibly Richard might have mentioned this, it's the foreign new immigrants coming here. You know, it's the new families to our lovely Nova Scotia where they're nestled. You know, the days of people calling you up from Ontario or from abroad and saying, hey, find me a home in Halifax. Those days are almost over. And I'll tell you why I say this in tongue in cheek, because now they're asking for Nova Scotia. They want Halifax, maybe Digby, possibly Cape Breton. Let's check out Yarmouth. And don't forget the hub of Nova Scotia, Truro. And if we forgot Bridgewater, it's not because we wanted to forget about them, because there's other places we want to see too. And that is the new way of showing properties. Now, not all of us service those areas. And yes, we need affiliates to help, you know, associates. But don't think that Nova Scotia is exceptional to that. Ontario's going through the same thing. BC's going through the same thing. This is not a Nova Scotia thing. The same with our market increases for what? Only 16 months, give or take a little bit, and all of a sudden we're going to give up hope? No, the engine is running, the train is moving. Try to slow down the locomotion, the choo-choo train. Try to slow that down quickly. It doesn't. It takes time. And our market has lots of fuel left in it. Believe me. Don't let a little slowdown by, a little bit of miles per hour change your perspective on our market. If you think our prices are expensive now, let me share this with you. They are a bargain compared to most cities in Canada on a relative scale of comparison and amenities. They are a bargain compared to where they will be tomorrow or next year, and they will be a deal compared to where they will be in 10 years from now. You plunk 100 to 150,000 people in our marketplace, which we've never seen that kind of increase in the history of Nova Scotia, in the history of HRM I'm speaking about specifically. We've never seen a 10-year increase predicted by CMHC and other economic entities. We've never seen that. Like, we're used to 1,000 or 2, maybe 3, a few crumbs. Like, this is a tsunami coming here. We have to understand, if you think you're going to put off your purchase tomorrow just because prices are high today, well, if you think they're high today, think about Toronto 20 years ago. It kept going up. Yes, it had its blips, but where it was 10 or 20 years ago to today, most people could have retired. If you had a home 20 years ago in Toronto and you could sustain it, you're done. You're finished. Cash it in.
Yeah, absolutely loving your passion, Thomas. Go ahead, Adam.
I'm going to say I agree, but with a little bit more caution, that I think we are seeing this year a very rapid correction in prices to come up to national levels of affordability, which Nova Scotia has historically been low on the affordability scale, meaning easy to purchase and affordable. I think we're going to see a rapid correction to national levels. And then I think from there, I don't foresee the 30% price growth continuing, but I do see a 10 to 15% price growth continuing at least for 3 to 5 years easily. And the reason I'm a little bit more cautious is the issue is supply and demand. And right now there is far more demand than there is supply, but that is starting to stabilize. So for example, we have 4,000 apartment units under construction, and that is the largest number we've ever seen in our history. And those are all, sorry, not 4,000 in construction, 4,000 expected to become available this year. So we are seeing a huge spike in construction as well. And that is going to help stabilize the influence as well. That I think 30% price growth is probably unsustainable, but it's staying as a very strong, this is going to sound strange, but I can see the market cooling off to a very strong seller's market with only 10 to 15% price growth and a more normal trend. Right now, the average time on market is 8 days, and that's to a firm sale with conditions removed. The average sale to list price is 114%. I can see that cooling off to more reasonable numbers, maybe 20 days on market, maybe 100 to 105% over list kind of thing. We're going to see things getting more predictable is what I see coming. Still that extremely strong seller's market. If we hadn't just gone through the last year, what I'm predicting I would consider to be the strongest seller's market we've ever seen in history. But after last year, I'd call it a cooling off. But yeah, I do see an extremely strong market continuing for years.
Well, it will be interesting, with Dal and SNU only at 50% capacity this year for the residency, and there's not a lot of rentals here in Halifax. So my thoughts are, anybody selling a condo, for example, in the South End, I think this would be the year to do it, or certainly the season to do it. I don't know if that will affect outside or off the peninsula. That will make a difference. But I'm with you, Adam. I think it's I don't know if I see the influx of people from out of town moving to Halifax as they were before, because people were coming here because we were so safe during COVID. And that was a big, you talk about romance, Thomas, that was a big thing for people to come here. And, now restrictions are being lifted slowly across the country. Are we going to still hold that attraction to buyers who were outside the province and in other parts of Canada? That, I know we're more affordable, but again, most people now, PEI, the restrictions, masks are gone. Out west, they're lifting, and so will people want to come to Halifax now because they can get out and they're not cramped in their apartments anymore? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But immigration, I know, is still strong. But I'm just wondering within Canada how it's going to be affected. What are your thoughts, Richard?
I think from a lifestyle point of view, that's why we've seen so many people moving here. I think you're right. Like COVID, Nova Scotia has been particularly strong with how we've dealt with outbreaks and making sure that you've got masks and restrictions about gatherings and everything. So yeah, those are starting to ease, absolutely. But I'm still talking to clients, and not a lot of the conversation about, when you say, well, what's bringing you to Nova Scotia? Like, why are you thinking of coming, halfway across the country to come to Nova Scotia? Everybody always says the same thing to me. And it's like, yeah, there's some element of affordability in the housing and what I would call the big ticket items. I don't believe that Nova Scotia is more affordable to live here. Like, you certainly look at our taxes, property taxes, grocery basket of goods. I'm still seeing a lot of people, especially from Ontario, actually saying, yeah, you're not great on that. You're definitely more expensive than Ontario in terms of living here. But when I can sell my 1.5 million downtown Toronto 2-story, and then I can move to a space that's got like an acre in Hammonds Plains or Fall River or Tantallon, and I'm spending 700 to 800, maybe I'll go to $1 million and I might even be on a lake. That's the lifestyle that people from the other parts of Canada are going, yeah, I'd have to own the 1.5 million Toronto and then travel 4 hours to Muskoka, spend another 1.5 million to get the lifestyle I can have every day in Nova Scotia. So they're moving here because the jobs are still available to be actually in Ontario. So they're not changing employment, they're just moving location. But when you look at the lifestyle and what they can get for the money, like, it's a hell of a location. You look at Thomas there, is that like, that's a pretty good view from his back deck or wherever he is at the moment. I'm sat here like, on a place just doing an inspection for a client that's moving here, funnily enough, from Dubai. And it's the same thing. They're like, I'm sorry, it's how much money? And I get how much land? And that's the key thing. Like, Nova Scotia is always going to have that lifestyle ability. And, I'm just talking HRM. We're not talking, Bridgewater, Truro, where else is there? Annapolis Valley, Wolfville, Kentville. We're not even talking about those areas yet. So it's the lifestyle. That's what I'm hearing from everybody. It's not the cost of living. It's the lifestyle that they actually go, I can make that work.
And the new workplace reality, that the realization that a lot of people can work from home, and now you are not defined by commuting distance to your downtown office. You're defined by high-speed internet, which is anywhere in the country.
Yeah. Guys, I got to tell you, this has been a very interesting panel, and I'm thankful that you all came out. Any parting words, Thomas? Love and passion. You're like...
Certainly. I'm going to come back to, and I'll let you hold me to it. I'm going to come back to, and I truly mean this, we are sitting on a gold mine, Halifax. We've lived here. Maybe we don't see the gold that's before us. But when I say the golden culture, lifestyle, the passion of the people, the sincerity, the way of life. The average price in Canada is just north of 700,000. We are hovering around 460,000. There's a lot of room for people's perceptions, which is a reality, to see a great opportunity in a discounted price point to move to a culturally attractive place and lifestyle at less than the average price in Canada. And I just see with the aging population and the 50 plus and the 60 plus that many people are retiring earlier, and they've have their pensions and they don't have to work, or they can work remotely. I just see this as a continued opportunity. And one thing that we may have forgotten as a people is if we were able to sell to people that were maybe fearful and wanted to change a lifestyle because they lived in downtown Vancouver or Toronto during COVID, that great energy, that all this advertisement of our great communities here in Atlantic Canada and here in Halifax area, it hasn't gone away. It hasn't evaporated like water. If anything, it's going to permeate. These are seeds of opportunity and advertisement from people that have moved here. And it's going to just be like, it's just going to integrate in terms of the spirits and the mindset of people across Canada, that people that would not buy sight unseen, which takes a special person to be able to do that and want to do that, now they'll be able to come here and see the beauty. I mean, do you want to see Disney World from your television, or do you want to go there in person? They're going to come to Disney World. This is a great place. We've got skiing, we've got kayaking, we've got Dartmouth is a city of lakes. We're called the Ocean's Playground. I mean, damn it. We've got buy local, love it local. We're all locals and we love you. Come to Halifax.
And Thomas is auditioning for the Tourism Nova Scotia Board.
Oh, guys, thank you so much for attending, and maybe we'll all get together again for another panel. This was awesome. Thank you.
Super. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank
See ya.
you.